Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Behind the Scenes. Today, I will be sharing with you some very interesting insights that I think every aspiring fashionpreneur or fashion designer needs to consider before starting their fashion business. These are 10 things that I personally wish I knew before starting my fashion business. Like every young aspiring fashion designer or just basically anybody in the creative space, or anybody who's desiring to start a business, we always start with a dream. Being wide-eyed and mystified and excited about the things that you could be able to achieve in your specific field. If there's something that you've always, or rather you wanted to be when you were growing up, please share in the comments below so that we can see where we hoped to be and where we actually are today. So when I was starting my fashion business, I was very excited. I think one of the things that really inspired me was watching fashion TV, which consistently had fashion shows playing back to back. I think that was like one of my favorite channels ever. And if there's anything that really pushed me towards now pushing into a fashion career, was that I was excited about how the music and the models and everybody and walking and all that stuff. So I think this is where I want to be now. It's one thing for you to actually aspire and want to get into a specific field. It's another thing to actually get into that field and start a career or a budding and a successful career in it. Many of us, I'm sure, have had dreams and probably, I don't know if you're still in it and still trying to pursue that, but I wish these are some of the things that somebody had actually told me about starting a fashion business. Like if I got somebody to hold my hand and tell me these are the things and obstacles that you need to look out for, I think I would have probably skipped a few hiccups along my journey. So let's get it started. The first thing that I wish I knew was knowing my why. Oh, that is a big thing. I think it cuts across any kind of career or any kind of business that you want to start. You need to know your why. And this is because, before I go there, your why is what will keep you motivated even when things are not working. What is your why? Why am I getting into business? Is it because of the money? Is it because of the glamour? Is it because of the connections that I'm going to meet? Is it because of people? Or is it because I want to serve my environment? I want to serve people with my gifting and my talent? Because that is what is going to sustain you when things are actually not making sense. It's basically the concept of what are you building your foundation on? Are you building it on the amount of money you're going to make? Are you building it on based on fame? Are you building it based on the networks and the celebrity status that you will get? You need to understand your why, and your why needs to be very solid. I shared in a recent Instagram live post, I think it's still on my profile page, about how I had to go back to my why when I was in a season of when I wanted to quit running the business. And this is more or less like the blueprint that will keep you running and will keep you focused on the main thing being the main thing. Do not base your why on something that is flimsy and something that will actually has no solid grounding. Okay? Like fame, for example, the connections that you think you're going to get, or the celebrity status that you actually think you're going to get, and even money, because sometimes the money might take a while to come. Yeah. So if that is the basis as to why you want to start your business, you might need to find something a bit more grounded and a bit more solid. For me personally, I had to come to terms, and it's something that has happened over the years. It's not a thing that is overnight, because anybody who starts a business actually wants to start it for the sake of money. And obviously, you're always told that when you start a business, or when you're able to start a business, you can make as much money as you want. They don't tell you the journey and the process and the nitty-gritties it actually takes for you to get there. So for me, I know when I started, I was very passionate about being famous and obviously making money because it's a business. I'm the one who's doing it at my own time and my own thing. And that was challenged. It's been challenged so many times, even as recent as the first quarter of this year, So I had to sit back with myself and ask, so why am I really in this business? Why am I doing fashion? Why do I wake up and why do I want to make clothes for people? And I had to reevaluate and say, I don't think the fame is something that is sustainable, because when people are not applauding, then it becomes very challenging to say, I want to continue. If you base your quote unquote, let me say, business identity on applause, you will not last long. So get a good why. My reason for me currently is I want to serve humanity with my job. And I think any business or any venture that is based on service to people has better chances of longevity than maybe any other reason. So let me know, what is your why in wanting to start your business, whether it's in fashion, whether it's in a creative space, or maybe it's in a different space. Comment below and let me know. The second thing that I wish somebody told me, and I partially mentioned from the previous one, is that you will not make money immediately. Yeah, the money takes time to come because there's a process. You have to set up systems, you have to actually have a product that the market wants to buy. Yeah, so the money sometimes may take a bit of time. And how do you cap this? Because now, if you think about it, for example, if you based again your why on the money, within the first 5 years, you probably will not be able to pay yourself. So are you still going to continue pushing forward even when the money is not coming through? But there's ways you can go about it. You can actually find side jobs to be able to support you while you pursue and build this particular business. It will take a lot. It requires a lot, mentally, emotionally, even physically. But now that is where we fall back on the why. Why do you want to start it? If you know that's the why that you want to start it, the money, you're like, okay, this one can let's give it a bit, maybe like 3 years if you want to be aggressive enough, and then the money will eventually come once you get the balance of what the market wants and what you can offer. I think that's a very good sweet spot to be in, and it's for any business. It is not just fashion, but fashion is a bit more special because it is more or less subjective. So then the question is, or rather the business that you're in is catering to people's wants more than need. So what does the market want? Do they want the item that you're selling? Are they looking for something new and something different or that is not already in the market? So take time to build on the product that you actually want to put out. Test it, give it to your friends or show it out to your friends, show it out to a few people, maybe on your social media page, and ask them, would they be able to buy this? So that you also don't spend so much time making product that ends up sitting in your store and nobody wants to buy it. They just say it looks nice, but nobody actually wants to buy a product. So it will take time before you make your money. Think of other side jobs, maybe an online job that can be able to support you, maybe a consultancy based on another skill that you have that can support you while you build your business. The next thing that ties to, again, what I shared before is, as a fashion designer, if you want to start your own business, I wish somebody told me that your style is your own. It's not necessarily marketable. If you think that how you dress is what everybody likes, yes, people may like it, but they may not want to wear it. So will you actually be in business, or will you be doing a very expensive hobby? Okay. So you need to figure out a way of, like I mentioned, blending probably your aesthetic and style as a designer with what the market desires and wants. And then now you get to that sweet spot of, this is actually what I will be selling and it's a product I will be putting out. For example, I know that when I was in fashion school allows you to dream and think big and imagine garments in different shapes and sizes and different silhouettes and colors and mixture of fabrics. Then you get to the market and you realize nobody wants to actually wear that piece. So I had to find a way of adapting my aesthetic into something that the market would be more interested in, which again takes me to my next point. The other thing I wish I knew is that the Kenyan market is very conservative. I think it's only recently that we've been able to see Kenyans being more open to wearing different styles and different prints and different silhouettes. But I think we're still not quite there compared to the Western world. And why do I say that? Is because if I, for example, a lot of students who come from fashion school in this context, whatever they design, other people will look at them like, that is very weird. You don't dress up like that. So I don't think there's a huge enough market to support interesting designs, interesting concepts, interesting silhouettes that people would be willing to try and be experimental. So that is something that I think as an upcoming designer or upcoming fashionpreneur, you need to be able to consider and factor when you're thinking about starting on fashion business. The next thing that I wish I knew is that you cannot be a jack of all trades. And I think that is a thing that plagues a lot of business people in Kenya. You see, for example, somebody starts their kiosk and they specifically say, or rather they start by selling wood alone. In the next 2 months, you see they've added bread, they've added wiring mesh, they've added cattle feed, they've added, so many things. We have this tendency as Kenyans to want to buy everything. And I think obviously it's because we are trying to find the best place to make a profit in the midst of the economic situation that we're in. So that can tempt you to decide as a designer to be able to do everything. Being a jack of all trades can be looked at in 2 different perspectives. That number one, when you start, you want to do everything within the business, okay? You want to be the person who's teaching, you want to be the person who's making your patterns, you want to be the person who is doing the marketing, you want to be just everything and everywhere. You are one person, it's not very possible. So if I knew that I needed to get extra hands, because at least now I've managed to get an assistant who we're able to delegate tasks to allow me to do other things, I think I would have been much further ahead. The other side of being a jack of all trades is your brand deals with everything. Like I said, you want to sell everything in the same shop. So for example, you're doing curtains, sofas, you're making clothes for people in Kitenge, you're making wedding gowns, you're making everything. And when you're starting out, it's good to do maybe all of it. Give yourself a time frame to do everything so that you see which niche actually works best for you. You're allowed to do that, but it will reach a certain point where you actually have to be very specific about who you are. I remember when I was starting out, my Instagram page had everything. I think I've archived most of those photos. So I would stitch for individuals, I would stitch for weddings, I would do Ankara, so it was just like a mixture of everything. At some point, I even wanted to, I think, stitch pillowcases, and then it just becomes very exhausting. So with time, you need to figure out what niche and what direction do I want to take with my fashion brand or as a fashion entrepreneur. There's different fashion genres, so you need to also do your research. Maybe I can do a video on the different fashion genres that are available for you so that you can think through, this is a path that I want to take, okay? You can decide to do women's wear, and women's wear is very broad because you have lingerie, you have sportswear, you have swimwear, you have office wear, you have casual, you have beachwear. So there's a lot. You see, even just within the women's category, it's already a lot. So there's women's wear, there's menswear, there's kids, there's plus size, there's maternity. There's so many variations. What are you trying to do and which market are you trying to serve? Do not try and serve everybody because 1, you will experience burnout, and 2, people will not know you for one thing. So you will be not memorable. People will easily forget you if you're doing everything at the same time. Another thing that I wish somebody told me, this one hurt so bad, is that running a fashion business is only glamorous 2% of the time. What? Guys, it is work, like forever. So, of course, when I was aspiring to get into the fashion space, I knew, you just think up of the outfits and voila, they appear. No. It starts with an idea. From the idea, you have to develop it into something that's actually functionable. and durable. You have to think of the fabrics that will go with that design. You have to make sure that the sizes of that design fits, or rather, you have sizes that fit different body types and body shapes. You have to think about the colors and the combination. This is just for one outfit. Like, you've not even done a full collection. You have to think about the production aspect of it. How is it getting stitched? Are you going to do it yourself? Or are you going to outsource the manufacturing of the garment? How are you going to market it? Are you going to do a fashion show? Are you going to do a fashion shoot, editorial shoot? What are you going to do? So it's a lot. I know I said at the beginning it's not good, or rather I said earlier that being a jack of all trades sometimes is not beneficial, especially if you're running the business. At the beginning, I'll be very clear, at the beginning you might have to do everything, but you will not be good at everything. That's the problem. So it might stretch you too thin. So the idea is that if that's the direction that you need to take, you don't have enough capital to hire the necessary resources and necessary people to help you run the business, you need to figure out, okay, these are the 3 key things that I need to do for the business to start and to pick up. So for me, I think for the longest time, I realized it's nothing to do with glamour. It's about meeting deadlines. It's about clients. Are they happy? It's about construction of the garment. Is it up to standard? Is it durable? The fabrics that I use, are they good quality, or do they fray after 2 or 3 washes? It's a lot of work. I think 2% of the glamour, in fact, whatever you see on the runway is basically, that's the 2%. Everything else, it's work. Late nights sometimes, long days. So yeah, I wish somebody had told me that running a fashion business is more than just the glamour side. But over time, I've actually come to enjoy it, and I've come to enjoy the business of trying to make designs come to life. So number 7 of the things that I wish I knew before starting my fashion business: Western fashion systems do not apply in our context. So here's the thing. When you're studying fashion and when you're doing your research, you realize that the Western world, that is Europe, the Americas, have a particular system in terms of how they release their garments. And they release them based on the weather systems that are in play in their countries and in their regions. I know by the time when I was starting out, we had like 4 seasons. So summer, autumn, winter, spring. 4 seasons. So that means each fashion house will produce like collections for each of the seasons. So you're showcasing basically 4 times in a year. Currently, I hear there are like 52 seasons because each week, because of fast fashion, they're releasing garments every week. Thinking about it, that might work in the Western world because how they construct those garments, or the system and the idea is that these clothes are not meant to last, so that people can keep buying. The purchasing power of the market in those particular areas is much stronger than what we have here. So you will not find people necessarily buying clothes every single week because, the pockets are not pocketing. I wish I knew that, so that even as I get into the space, and it's something that I've slowly been trying to think about, how can we interpret or create our own fashion system that applies to our weather system, for example. So for us, we generally just have winter and summer, like it's hot or cold or rainy. Yeah, those are the 3 seasons that we have that are realistic. And then also our purchasing power, as I'm sorry to say, as a third world developing nation, is not that strong. So as a designer, I think you need to consider the fact that not everybody will have money to buy every week. And then also the way our system is set up, people are paid at the end of the month. So most of the times, probably people will buy monthly. So you might decide to say for you, your seasons for your brand are 12 seasons. So that's like every month you're releasing something new. Again, is it practical for you as a business? I don't know. Because it requires a lot of capital. It requires consistent producing of items and products. So maybe we should interview somebody who's in the ready-to-wear space and find out how they are doing it. So we have to create our own systems that work for us. Number 8 of things I wish I knew about starting a fashion business. You cannot rely on tailors. Hey, guys. This one, I think we all have a story. Please, if you have a story of a tailor, comment below. Let us know what your experience was, what happened, and let us console each other together. I thought that when I was starting out, I could just get a tailor, have them sit in a workshop, and they interpret my ideas in my head, and we have work flowing. I was shown a miracle. And I think that was one of the biggest pushes for me to go to fashion school, because I said, if I'm going to rely on tailors, my business will actually crumble. And in no uncertain terms, it actually did at some point, because I was constantly letting clients down. Time frames were not being met. Whatever they were doing, first of all, the construction was just there's a difference between using patterns and freehand cutting. You can be really great at freehand cutting, to the extent that you can create pieces that are well constructed, okay, with freehand cutting. Though when you're in the fashion space, we know that's not very well recommended. So just working with tailors. In fact, I think the worst was working with men tailors for me, because I don't know what happened. There's one who I think has been consistent, which I'm so grateful for, and I'm able to still work with him, but in his own workshop. Like, I don't hire them. I don't know. They're just special humans. But male tailors showed me that. Oh my dear. There's the lack of respect, I think, because they would feel that, oh, you're a woman and you're telling me how to do my job. But then also, I can't blame them, because I didn't know how to interpret and give them constructive direction when it comes to putting the garments that I wanted to be done together. So that pushed me to actually get into fashion school, because between the time I decided I want to get into fashion, by the time I was going to fashion school, I'd done a few projects, but they were not up to the standard that I wanted. And I realized I found it very hard to explain to tailors and even to get the respect, because the reason is that if you are explaining, or you just have this idea in your head and you've given a tailor to work on it, and you're not able to give them guidance in terms of, I think this one is wrong, why don't you cut this way? I realized there's some sense of lack of respect that they don't have for you. So you'll be taken round and round in circles. So if you've ever experienced that, this is a little secret. They don't respect you. It's that simple. I can tell you for a fact that since I went to fashion school and I understood how to construct a garment, I can talk to tailors like we are the same level, like we are colleagues. Like, there's that respect that they give me of, okay, I hear what you're saying. Okay, I've never thought of it that way, but let me try and cut it like this. So I wish I knew that tailors will mess you up, but the remedy to that is learn the skill yourself, because that one will not hold your business hostage. So the 9th thing that I wish I knew, that I wish I knew when I was starting my fashion business, is that I need to market my business. Just because I create wonderful pieces doesn't mean that everybody will like the piece. Doesn't mean that everybody will be able to know that I have created this piece. So I had to learn to put myself out there. And I think from an artist perspective, when you create something, it's literally part of your identity. So sometimes there's that fear of, I don't want to put myself out there, because what if I'm rejected? For you don't feel like it's a piece. It's actually a piece of you, because you've poured out your heart and your soul into this work, into this piece of work, and somebody's like, yeah, no, I don't like it. So there's that fear of rejection and of being vulnerable, of putting yourself out there. But if you claim to say that you're running a business, you have to put yourself out there. Marketing. And right now we live in such a wonderful time and period, because you don't need so much to market. You need a social media page, You can have 2,000 shillings to boost a post. It might not reach far, but it's something that you can start out with. You have your phone, you can buy a very affordable ring light and start talking about your business, getting into networking spaces and getting to know people and tell them, yes, this is what I do. I'm a designer, or I'm a fashionpreneur, or I'm a fashion marketer, and here's what I do. Here's my business card. Put yourself out there. I think for the longest time I was yes, I knew I was a designer, but I was not very confident in talking about what I do, because I thought maybe it's stupid. Maybe somebody will think, this is so dumb. Why are you, showcasing your design? So market yourself, market yourself, market. Yes, so my final point of things that I wish I knew about starting a fashion business is that it will take time. It will take time. I wish somebody told me that to grow and become established and become a household brand takes years. You cannot say you're starting your fashion brand today and in 1 year you want to be known all over the world, unless you have filthy money. If you're somebody who's starting from ground up, it will take time. Be patient with the process. Do not try and hop, skip, and jump, because you might jump and bite too much, more than you can chew, and it ends up destroying you even worse than if you build slowly. So it takes time. I know we're living in a world where everything has to happen microwave process, but be patient with yourself, be patient with your business, be consistent. That is something that I think I've been able to see. And having been in the industry for more than 10 years, because I've been in this space for 10 years plus, and I can only say that now is when I feel like I'm getting the hang of it and I'm starting to see the fruits of the work. So be patient with yourself and let nature take its course. But even as you're working, as we're saying, which takes time, keep working, keep putting in the effort, keep putting in the time. Otherwise, it just won't fall on your lap. So that's it for this episode. I hope you've been able to pick a thing or two. Maybe you can share in the comment section what has been your biggest pointer to note. These are tips that don't necessarily apply only to fashion, but can even be for any business that you're trying to start out. And if you made it this far in the episode, I just want to say thank you so much for staying tuned. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more of such similar content. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Till next time.